All right, everybody, welcome back to the Waiver Wire. It is July 22nd. I'm joined again with Nick. Uh, we're just here to talk some AFC West, man. We've been reviewing the divisions. We've gone through the NFC North, the AFC North, and now we're keeping it with the AFC and we're going out west. What's up, Nick, man? How's your day been, dude?
Pretty good. Ready to talk some football.
Good, man. How do you feel about the AFC West? Stacking against these other divisions, where do you see them?
This is a strong division. It is a two-team race, and in my opinion, the other two teams aren't bad either. I think that the Broncos and the Raiders, being the bottom two, are
Mm.
headed in the right direction, and the Chargers and the Chiefs should be thinking Super Bowl or bust, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. I found myself thinking the same thing. When I first was kind of diving into the Broncos a little bit, I was telling myself like, "Oh, this is an under 500 team," but they're actually like they have a pretty decent squad.
Yeah,
But I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, there's obviously two people that are in win now mode, and they should be because they've got loaded rosters, and the other two teams that probably aren't going to they're not going to be the wild card team, but they're still going to be competitive. So who do you want to kick it off with, man?
let's start off with the MVP and Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, man, they went 12-4 last year. They were first in the AFC West, like you said. The MVP Mahomes out there, he absolutely killed it. Threw for 5,100 yards, 66% completion rate, 50 touchdowns. Do you remember anybody ever throwing 50 touchdowns?
I believe Brady has done it, and I think did Manning do it that first year with the Broncos? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just think that's crazy. That's just absurd. I mean, 12 interceptions and 8.5 yards per attempt. He led the Kansas City Chiefs to first in passing touchdowns with 50, obviously, third in passing yards at 5,000, and first in total yards for that offense with 6,800 total. Um, Man, what do you think about the Chiefs entering 2019?
Yeah, the Chiefs' offense is just weapons on weapons on weapons. We just got the news: Tyreek Hill is not going to be suspended, so you're going to get the full season with him, and he tilts the field like nobody else because he is so fast, and he's one of those guys where it doesn't take him long to get to top speed, and that's what
Mm.
makes him such a game changer. Is he is at top speed like that. He's turned himself into a good little receiver as well. So I think that he's a big weapon for him, and I just think it's amazing that I think Travis Kelce's still underrated. He is
Yeah.
elite.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got some weapons. Hill had 1,500 yards last year. Watkins had 519. Travis Kelce had just under 1,400 with an average of 13 yards a catch, which I thought was pretty sick. Damian Williams kind of played there towards the end. He had 256 yards and 5.1 yards per carry. And also another underrated aspect of their game is Harrison Buckner is a pretty high level kicker. He was 24 or 27, 89% from field goals, and I don't know. I mean, you've been screwed over by a kicker. I feel like I have before. With
Yeah.
Josh Scobie at one point, we like lost 4 games, like not because of him solely, but we could have won a couple more games. Um, and you don't realize the value of it until you get screwed over by it in a moment like that. So I put in there like as an honorable mention as well, Carlos Hyde, because he'll be like kind of the backup running back, and I think he's another guy who's really good for San Francisco. And people are kind of like they're not really thinking about him because he's not a big stud, but I think he's going to give him good minutes.
Yeah.
That offensive line, they ranked 13th in 2018 and sixth for pass blocking, so they're sitting there, sleds up front or holding it down for Patrick Mahomes to get to 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. So give them a lot of credit. Um, yeah, they're allowing their running backs to average 4.5 yards a carry. They lost their starting center Mitch Morse to the Bills this offseason, but I don't think that's a big deal for them because they had an undrafted like free agent last year, Andrew Wiley, who's moving to left guard after impressing their whole team last year and winning the Chiefs Rookie of the Year award. And I mean, like I said, he went undrafted, and they're just going to insert him into the offensive line because he just killed it last year. So I personally see the Chiefs winning the AFC West. It'll be a really tough race, but I'm holding it down with Mahomes. But moving on from there, the Chiefs defense, I mean, they were one of the league's worst last year. They were ranked 31. Man, what do you think about that defense? I thought it was pretty crazy that it was like the number one offense and the 31st, the bottom of the barrel defense. Pretty shitty, but what do you think about that defense?
Yeah, I think that they they got a new defense coordinator this year coming over from the Giants, so they'll be running a 4-3 this year instead of a 3-4, and I think that'll help them out. Some of their players were out of position last year.
All the interviews you've seen about the 4-3, it seems like all the players are excited about rotating to a new scheme.
Yeah, so I think that's going to help them out. They bring over the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. He's just a defensive weapon. You can play him in the nickel. You can play him, in the box, and then you can play him as a deep middle third too. And I just love the way he plays. Just the attitude that he brings to a defense is really huge. Chris Jones is an absolute monster. One of the best defensive linemen in the entire NFL. He's just an absolute game changer. And the guys that go unnoticed, but for every team, is like nose tackle. The guys that are going to just eat up blocks. They're not going to get a lot of sacks or tackles, but they eat up two blockers and free up guys like Chris Jones. And I think for the Kansas City Chiefs, Derek Nottie is going to be that guy. He's not going to be flashy, but he just eats up blocks and he gives his other guys one-on-ones.
Yeah.
For guys like Frank Clark and Chris Jones too.
Ooh, I forgot they signed Frank Clark. Ooh. Yeah, that's a tough one too. Yeah, last year they allowed the most first downs, they allowed the second most passing yards, and they were bottom of the barrel for rush yards allowed a game as well, and touchdowns. So, I mean, almost in every category they were lacking. On the bright side, they had 52 sacks, and they had a +9 turnover ratio. I totally forgot they traded for Frank Clark, though, dude. That's so key. And, I mean, Tyrann Mathieu's big, too, but Frank Clark was a stud last year for Seattle. This is crazy because, I mean, they lost in the AFC Championship last year against the Patriots, 37-31. And if you just can't help but think if that defense would have just showed up on that last drive and slowed them down, they could have been in the Super Bowl, and that solely based on that offensive success almost. Some could argue. But yeah, so in 2018, which was last year, they only had 5 players returning from their 2015 squad when they were absolutely stacked. And now they'll only have 1 person returning from that defense in 2019, and he was like a backup safety. So it's a whole revamped system. It's going to be a whole new look in Kansas City. And I foresee a lot of success with them. Maybe your pick, man. We're coming up to that. The Chargers. They were also 12-4 last year. The tiebreaker went to Kansas City, so they got to play the wild card and smash the Ravens. What do you think about the Chargers this year?
Yeah, going into it, I thought it was going to be the Chargers for me, and I looked over the schedules, looked over the rosters, and I think especially with the full season of Tyreek Hill, I'm going to be leaning Chiefs. But just going on to the Chargers.
It's really tough, though. You know what I mean? I wouldn't bet on it. It's a close one, I think.
Yeah, the one thing about the Chargers that just kind of makes me nervous is the offensive line is a little bit unproven, and they don't have a lot of depth. But one of the big X factors for me going into this season for the Chargers is going to be Forrest Lamp. He's offensive guard, first-round pick 2 seasons ago. He was out all of last year, and they expect big things from him. He was a fan favorite in the draft community, very athletic guard that can move to the next level, physical run blocker, and good feet as a pass blocker as well. I think that he's got a chance to be really solid for this team and help Rivers out and help this run game out, whoever it's going to be. It might not be Melvin Gordon, but Austin
got a lot of depth back there.
Yeah, and Justin Jackson is really good.
Justin Jackson was great. He killed us when he came to Pittsburgh. He absolutely shredded our defense sucks, but he shredded us.
I think Jackson and Eckler can kind of combine to be equivalent to what Melvin Gordon does, even though Melvin Gordon is a really great player. But yeah, not the Chiefs, but the Chargers, they're going to go where this defense goes, man. They are fast.
Their defense is so fast.
And they are led by one of the best defensive players in the NFL, and his name is not Joey Bosa. His name is Derwin James. That guy is a freak show. He's going to, I just think, put himself on the map and be one of these guys that everyone says, this is the best safety in the NFL, and it's really not close. He is a game wrecker. He can do it all. I think he's
him and Desmond King are like a lockdown duo. That whole defense is good, but every aspect of it is absolutely insane.
every level, exactly. Yeah. I love the diversity of that defense. And then the defensive line, they finally got what they needed. They needed someone on the interior who can rush that passer so Ingram and Bosa don't have to do all of it from the outside. Rookie Jerry Tillery from Notre Dame, I think, is going to be that guy, and he's going to be a big impact for that defense.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry, he was tied for best pass rusher according to Pro Football Focus. So yeah, I think he'll shore up that defense. It's funny that you bring up like every tier of the Chargers defense is so impressive because we'll dive into it more in a little bit, but like that's what makes the difference between this team being a win now team and like the Broncos, for example, being about a 500 team is because their second level is really impressive, but beyond that, it's not much more surrounding that. You know what I mean? Besides like Chris Harris and players like that, but it just seems like their front seven isn't as strong. But with the Chargers, I mean they're like the 11th ranked offense. They were the 9th ranked defense. Phillip Rivers, he threw for 4,300 yards, had 32 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and was 8.5 yards per attempt. Do you like Phillip Rivers? Would you trust him if it was your franchise?
I think Phillip Rivers is the man. I think he's got to prove it in the playoffs, but I don't think all those playoff games are on him, especially when he was younger, because it seems like every playoff game that they got to back with him and LT, LaDainian Tomlinson was always hurt or got hurt. So I think that Rivers is one of these underrated guys. I think he's the man.
Yeah, I feel like he's a pretty solid player. I was down on him a couple years ago, but I just feel like as he's gotten older and I've watched more and more, I'm more and more impressed with him, to be honest with you. Melvin Gordon had almost 900 yards last year, 10 touchdowns, 0 fumbles, which I think is massive, and he missed 4 games. Like we talked about earlier, he could end up missing time during his like contract negotiations, but Justin Jackson, Eckler are very capable running backs. I have a lot of faith in them. But yeah, Gordon last year, which I think was super impressive, he was the highest rated running back when the box was 8 or more players. He averaged the most yards when the box was loaded against him. So it sucks that he's going to be sitting out because I actually really like Melvin Gordon. He saved my ass in fantasy a couple times. But
yeah.
But also they're in the AFC, and I'm trying to get some wins in the AFC too, so maybe I'm not too upset about it. I think a big X factor for them is if Keenan Allen can continue to stay healthy. This is his first consecutive years that he's been able to stay healthy, and he's been absolutely dominant. 2 Pro Bowl years. He won 2017 Comeback Player of the Year, and it just seems like with him in there, him and Mike Williams are such a nice duo. You got a huge red zone threat in Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen is everything. He's everything, but Mike Williams is like a perfect asset to have next to him because he's just a big body that you can throw to in the red zone and secure those touchdowns after Keenan Allen just work you all the way up the field. So I got a lot of faith in that Chargers offense and the Chargers defense. Like you touched on a little bit, but it's like they got Melvin Gordon, Joey Bosa. That's a great duo there as well. Desmond King and Derwin James, another great duo. They have talent at every tier in this defense. They had 38 sacks. Their turnover ratio was +1. But I really have a lot of faith in this defense going forward. The thing I like about them versus Kansas City is like they have such a great balance between offense and defense that both sides of the ball have so many opportunities to score and make plays for you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's where it's hard for me. Like I don't want to like put all my eggs in Kansas City's basket, even though if I had to choose, it would be them. But it's just like, damn, the Chargers are so balanced, and they just feel good, they look good, everything about them I'm liking. Their color rush jerseys are probably one of the most dope color rush jersey, so
yeah, the powder blue uniforms are the best in the NFL.
It's so nice.
The one tough thing for the Chargers is they don't have a home field.
Yeah.
They don't have any home field advantage.
They might as well be playing in London for their home games.
Yeah, I mean they had more wins on the road last year, I'm pretty sure, but it's just in Kansas City, comparing the two, Kansas City has one of the best home field advantages in the entire NFL. Yeah. So it's a huge difference between the two, and I think it really does hurt them.
Yeah, I don't know if it was you and I talking about this or if it was me and somebody else, but it's like, damn, everybody who's not in Los Angeles kind of wants to be a Chargers fan. And then everybody in Los Angeles is like, nope, not rooting for the Chargers. It's so weird, like – I feel like if I lived in the area, I'd be like, damn, I'm going to Chargers games. I'm getting behind this team. But everyone else that lives there is like, man, I don't know what the owner did to dirty the team or dirty the town. Or I don't know. Like, I don't know why they get such a bad rap because I think they're cool. And Mike Williams was one of my favorite players drafted a few years ago. So I don't know. It's just a cool team.
Yeah.
What about the Raiders, man? They were 4-12 last year. What do you think about the Oakland Raiders? A lot of changes.
Yeah, a lot of changes. I look at this roster, and the offense is, if I'm a Raiders fan, I'm encouraged. This offense could be really dangerous. I just love the balance. They have weapons all over the field. I think Derek Carr is just really solid. They drafted Josh Jacobs to be their running back, spent some money on the offensive line. Gruden is a good offensive coordinator, good offensive coach. Their offense could be really special, and the defense is not.
Yeah.
So
You know what I
it's
think
just,
was a really underrated pickup for that offense? I think them picking up Tyrell Williams kind of went under the radar, and he had some really impressive games last year. Last year for the I thought he was a good receiver for the Chargers. I thought he had some great not I don't want to say great because that kind of puts it up, but he had some really good games, and
really good.
I didn't even know that they signed him. I'm looking up some of the Raiders stuff, and I'm like, damn, they got Tyrell Williams.
Yeah,
He went to Western Oregon too, which is kind of dope. But yeah, I thought that was the most underrated pickup for them. Do you have like an underrated pickup in mind for the Raiders at all?
yeah. It's Tyra Williams, and they also picked up J.J. Nelson. He's the little
For the
receiver from
Cardinals.
the Cardinals.
Yeah, he's
Fast,
fast.
fast.
Yeah.
And when you have a guy like Antonio Brown who has to be double teamed, and Tyrell Williams, who is a big physical jump ball receiver, and JJ Nelson, who's going to take the top off, that's tough to guard all those different types of receivers. I think that they're really going to blend well together.
Yeah, obviously their biggest offseason acquisition was trading for AB. He led in yards and receptions twice since 2014. He hauled in the most touchdown catches last year with 15, which I think is impressive for not being a Julio Jones physique type receiver. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's a smaller receiver, he's fast and he's super gifted, obviously. So it doesn't surprise me that he got 15 touchdown catches, but it's like, damn, he's doing this without even being a little bit bigger of a guy. Um,
Yeah.
he's like known to be aspiring to want to break Jerry Rice's records or be in the same conversation as Jerry Rice, which honestly I think is unrealistic at this point. He's got like 11,000 more yards he needs to get, and he's 31 years old, but he might be able to get it. From a Steelers fan perspective, he is like the absolute best receiver when it comes to dragging those toes in, dude. Like some of the most
Yeah.
exciting plays that I've ever witnessed as a Steelers fan is sitting there, and 30-yard catch, and they're like, oh, incomplete. And it's like, or they call it complete or whatever, and it's like, there's no way he got his toes in. And they show the replay, and he's running as fast as he can. He gets to that line, catches the ball, and just drags that foot. He's the absolute best at it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins is pretty high up there with it too. He's made some sick plays, but AB is just so exciting, and I obviously any team he went to, it's a great pickup. The only problem with him is like a lot of the things I read is like, oh, him and Derek Carr are getting along great. Him and Derek Carr are getting along great, but it's like you can get along great until you face adversity. That's with any relationship. You know what I mean? You're gonna be best friends until you face adversity, and you see what you're really made of or what your friendship's really made of. So
Exactly.
yeah, we'll see what happens. I think their receiving core looks awesome. The J.J. Nelson pickup, like you said, yeah, that's super underrated. What do you think about that? Josh Jacobs, also who you brought up. I read some things that people were like, oh, he could win like rookie offensive player of the year, like he is the 30th pick or whatever, or 30th ranked. He's looking to fix up their run offense. They were the 30th in the league last year. A little story I read about him too was he was like homeless in high school, sleeping in his car and stuff. So it is kind of a cool story.
Yeah, very gifted. And Isaiah Kroll, who is going to split time with him as the running back, he's out for the season.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so Josh Jacobs is going to be the man. They got a few scat backs. They're like little receiver type running backs.
They still got Doug Martin down there.
Yeah, he's about done, I think.
Yeah.
Like the muscle hamsters out of muscle. But yeah, I think Josh Jacobs is going to get the full load as the lead back.
Yeah. Their defense, they also picked up Cleveland Farrell out of Clemson, who I think some people were surprised to see go at number 4. But they're really hoping to lead to a more progressive, pass rush. They trade Khalil Mack away. Obviously, they need something to increase their pass rush. Justin Ellis is returning from injury. They brought in Brandon Marshall and Vontaze Burfict, which played in my division. I'm not impressed with him, really. Not even as like an athlete. Like the last couple of years, he's been irrelevant, really. But who knows? The Bengals are kind of an irrelevant team, so it might be hard to stand out. Otherwise, Brandon Marshall, I think he was a solid pickup for them.
Yeah.
Nick Nelson and Gary and Conley were two great building blocks for the Raiders, I think, to build around as corners. But what do you think about this defense?
Yeah, the defense worries me because I do like Clelin Ferrell. I think that he's a solid pass rusher. But other than him, and then also Maurice Hurst, last year he was ended up being like a 5th-round pick, but he was a 1st-round prospect. He had a heart thing that scared people. As long as he is able to keep playing, he's a good defensive piece on that line as well. The linebackers are concerning for me because they are slow. They are all slow. I like Marshall. I like Perfect, but they're slow, and they don't really have that modern linebacker that most teams have now. I am kind of interested to see what they do if they end up playing more safeties and only playing one of those linebackers at a time, because I do like their safeties. They drafted Jonathan Abrams from Mississippi State. Lamarcus Joyner they signed from the Rams, and then Carl Joseph was their 1st-round pick a few years ago, and he's kind of one of those banger in the box type dudes. I'm with you on Garyon Conley. He's a good outside corner, but other than that, they don't really have any outside corners. Nick Nelson can play a little bit in the slot, but I think they're going to get shredded by teams like the Chargers and the Chiefs. And quite honestly, I think they're outmatched on the outside versus the Broncos as well. And they don't have a great pass rush to go with that. They better hope their defense or their offense is as explosive as we think it's going to be, because I just think that defense.
Maybe JJ Nelson might see some time at corner as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I just think that there's not a lot of dynamic players.
Yeah. Man, since Shazier went down, I've experienced slow middle linebackers firsthand, and it is the worst thing in like today's NFL when people just the way the ball moves. It's so fast, and if you don't have linebackers that can get out there and have that lateral quickness, because I feel like we got exposed with it a little bit. Like Vince Williams is a good linebacker, I guess you could say, but it's just like he could not stop these guys. I mean, they're too quick, and he can't get there. It was really frustrating. So I like the honesty about the Raiders. It's good. But moving on to the Denver Broncos, the last team in the AFC West. Not in last place. I'm not sure they were 6-10 last year, so they're third. But last team we're going to cover. What do you think about the Denver Broncos?
I really like the Denver Broncos roster. Some of the guys haven't quite emerged yet to the point where I think that they can. But I really like this roster. They have a really, really, really tough schedule. Just the games on the road versus the games they get at home. It's not a good balance. They got a new coach and a new quarterback. I like both of them for this year at least. I think Flacco's got another year in him.
Yeah. Flacco's not the permanent answer for sure. He's not we're making a Super Bowl running guy.
Yeah, I don't think so, especially in this division. But I do love their pieces on offense. I think Royce Freeman is a really good running back. Obviously, as a Duck fan, I'm a huge fan of Royce Freeman.
Him and Lindsey are a good duo back there too.
For sure, they balance each other really well. Royce Freeman is one of these very rare running backs that is an elite pass blocker from the running back position, which is tough to find. And then I love their weapons. Cortland Sutton is a big receiver. He's a lot like Mike Williams, Tyrell Williams kind of guy. And Deshaun Hamilton, I think, is going to step up this year, and he's going to have a bigger role. Emmanuel Sanders is like immortal. He doesn't age. To go along with 3 really talented tight ends and the rookie Noah Fant.
Yeah, he's a good pickup for them. Flacco loves his tight ends.
Yeah, Jeff Heuerman. So I love the offensive line. The schedule is tough. But this is a team that if they play like really good, it's not going to shock me, because it's just going to come down to the coaching staff, the cohesion of the team, and Joe Flacco. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, you're talking about the offensive line. There's one thing that Broncos fans need to know. Mike Munchak is an absolute premier offensive line coach. I'm so upset we lost him this past season. And all the years I've watched the Steeler football, great. I mean, all of our lines have always been awesome. So any offensive line that guy coaches, I'm gonna trust in 110%. So as long as they
Yeah.
can sit there and hold the pocket for Flacco, I think he can. I think he can still work the pocket. This team, they're not gonna make the playoffs, but they still have I feel like they got a lot to work with here. Philip Lindsay is the first rookie undrafted to ever make the Pro Bowl. He had just over 1,000 yards last year, 9 touchdowns, and 241 receiving yards. I really like Philip Lindsay. I hated him this season because when they beat us, Lindsay went off just like Justin Jackson went off, and I was frustrated with him. But I really like him. Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton, yeah, they're both sophomores, and they ended last season showing a lot of potential, and they'll be able to hold it down while Sanders comes back off that Achilles injury. But yeah, man, they look solid. I think their defense looks fine. I want to say something else too. You brought up the tight ends, and I hate myself for not bringing this up on the Chargers part, but Hunter Henry's coming back, and he looked real good before his injury.
Yeah, just he can stay healthy for him. I think it's back-to-back seasons now for him, so hopefully he's not one of those guys that just ends up being like Tyler Eifert.
Yeah. But yeah, do you see Flacco staying healthy for this Broncos team? I know we're at about 26 minutes, so we're gonna try to wrap it up. But do you think Flacco can actually stay healthy for these guys?
Yeah, I do. I think that Flacco's a smart quarterback, a lot like Eli Manning. They know their limitations athletically. They make quick reads. They get the ball out when they don't have to, and if anything else fails, he's just gonna chuck it deep. So, this team is an interesting team. I'm really fascinated to see if they can push the Chargers or the Chiefs.
Yeah, they feel like a team that can definitely get up for a couple games this season and be like, oh wow, they beat the Chargers or whatever. You know what I mean? I think this is a team that can get up for just a couple. But what do you think about
Great home field?
Right, yeah. What do you think Fangio brings to the team?
I think Fangio is going to really solidify this defense because he does not do anything fancy. And one of the problems with Vance Joseph was Von Miller was dropping in coverage. Why? Stop it. Like, Von Miller can do everything, but Von Miller is going to rush the passer every single time from the same spot, which doesn't seem sneaky, but you don't have to be sneaky when you're Von Miller. Bradley Chubb and Von Miller are going to come off the edge
That
every
duo
play.
is disgusting.
And Fangio is the type of guy where he just runs his defense. He wants everybody in the right spot, and you're going to do your job. It's very Patriot-esque. And he's not going to try to scheme up these fancy plays. He's just going to let his talent win out. And I think that they have that talent to do that in Denver.
Yeah, they got some players that can make something happen if Fangio can make it all mesh together. I mean, they got Jones, Wolf. I mean, they're both solid against the run. The second level with Von Miller and Chubb. I mean, Miller had 14.5 sacks. Chubb had 12 last year. It's just like that's such a fun defense to watch. You know what I mean? When they're having that type of production. Safety Jamal Carter is coming back after missing all of last season. So yeah, man, if Fangio can make this all work together and Flacco can get the ball in the end zone a couple times, it's a team that could take a couple wins away from a team that's really trying to secure their spot as division winners. You know, so that'll be a fun team to watch this season. You know, break a couple teams' hearts.
Yeah.
But all right, man. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, I think that's it. How do you feel about let's just go to the NFC West next?
NFC West, man. I'm down for whatever. I mean, we're going to. Oh, by the way, when we go to San Francisco to watch the Steelers game, my dad was talking to BD, and guess who's going to be down there playing against Stanford?
Oregon is, yeah.
Yeah, so the day before, so we're gonna go to that game.
Really?
Yeah, it's gonna be dope.
That's awesome.
All right, man. It's good to see you. All of our social medias are down below Nick. I figured out how to point at them properly now, so they're gonna be right down there. Give us a follow, like, comment, whatever it is. Subscribe to us on YouTube, whatever it is you watch us on. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.